Hello, hello, hello. Hello, everyone. How are you? How's it going? Um, let's see. I can set this right here, even though I know that'll move out the way. 1, 2, 3. So we will get started in a couple minutes because we have a lot of work to do. And really, it's not a lot of work, it's a lot of repetitive work, which makes this a very easy quilt. So we are working on a quilt today. And that's just like, really, after I just got finished making my confession. I have another video to post around that regarding all of the quilt tops that I have made so far. So there are a lot of quilt tops. There are a lot of quilt tops in progress that I am working on. And yeah, it's time to start quilting some of those. So I'm going to figure out like when that's going to happen. I'm still going to leave like Tuesday open to making quilts, to talking about how to construct a quilt. So I'll leave all that stuff for Tuesday because my quilts are not necessarily what I would call, like, my quilting skills are not there yet where it's like, yeah, watch me quilt, other than to watch me practice. So I haven't really decided to do that, but absolutely I need to work on getting some quilts done. So I am going to share my journey and my progress through video of me actually finishing those quilts. And yeah, that's the goal. So I'm already behind. Technically, I should have started in January. So I'm really behind for January and part of February. So I really should finish like 3 of them. But we'll see how things go. So let me just share with you while we're getting started. We are working on a quilt today, and this is called the Love Nest. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you. I love those fabrics. And some of those fabrics, I had something that came really close to it. But of course, I had no desire to buy the fabrics in 4 different colorways, all the same fabric. So to go back and do it again, I might go onto a website if I decide to do the same quilt. And I decide to use those colors or similar colors, then I might buy the yardage needed in order to make them. But right now, I'm going with a spin-off of this. And so I went through my stash and looked to see what I could get. So this pattern is called Love Nest. It makes the twin size. Obviously, if you are a quilter and you know how to size up quilts, you can make this to be bigger or smaller depending on whatever it is that you need. But they give you the measurements and everything for just the twin quilt. So if you want a queen, you want a king, you want a baby, a throw, you'll have to figure out those measurements and how many blocks and how much fabric you need. The good thing about the smaller quilts is if you get roundabout to close to what they have for the twin, you know you can hit the smaller ones. It's the larger ones that you really have to determine how much more fabric you'll need for this. So this is by Sugarstone Quilts, and for the month of February, as a part of Black Sewing Network, we are focusing in on Black designers. And so since I am all things quilts, I looked up to see if there were some new patterns, and this was a new pattern by a Black quilt designer. Actually, I think she's African, and this is Sugarstone Quilts. And so I thought this was really good because it was an easy one to do. And I was like, you know, I'm all about the easy. So it looks like it's difficult, but it's really easy. So it just took a little bit of time to figure out the fabric choices. So all of this in here is Ankara. Hey, Carmen. Thank you for the heart me. So this is all Ankara fabric. And so in the spirit of Black History Month and in the spirit of having a pattern that focused with Ankara fabric, I was like, let me try to find some Ankara fabric. So that took some time. Because first of all, to know me is to know I have enough Ankara fabric to choke a horse. But the question is, did I have enough to match exactly what I wanted it to match? That was a question. So it took a little bit of time to go through the stash because I didn't need to buy any. And I was like, girl, you're not buying any, you're not buying any, you're not buying any. So I landed because somewhere in the process of ordering fabric, and I get a lot of my Ankara from African Dusty Couture, and so I bought this fabric because I like the print. And clearly I like this so much that I bought this fabric, which is the same as this fabric, except this one doesn't have the greens and the blues in it. So I was like, oh, you got the same fabric twice. So not a problem. I was like, you know what? These will go great together. Like some of these prints go well together. Hey, RV. So I said to myself, you know what? Let me build off this. So I didn't have any more of these because why do that? And then I said, well, maybe if I give it a pop of orange, and this is a batik, but it has a similar weight. Thank you for the heart me. It has a similar weight to these. So I said, well, that'll be perfect. And it really pulls out the orange in here. So I went through my stash, and then I landed on this. Now, this doesn't match this, but it has some of the same abstract lines in here that this one did. Different colors, and this reads orange on this screen, but this is actually like a brown. So it kind of worked for me when I looked at it. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go for it. Hey, Shamir. So that was my fourth color. Let me make sure that I keep all these in the order that they're supposed to go in, so I don't mess up nothing. Okay. So that's how I decided to put everything together. I went through my stash. I needed like over 2 yards of background fabric. And because of that, I had, hey, Charmaine, how are you doing, darling? Happy school year. Past 100th day, girl. Past 100th day. And I decided to go with a background, so it was either gray or it was beige. And I had this beige that was really going to make it pop. And white works. White always works. But I had this beige, but I didn't have enough of it. So I was like, okay, let me just use what's in my stash, because we were on a 4-day weekend. And let me tell you, I was on my way to the store to buy some more beige. And then I was like, girl, you got, nope, use what you got. Use what you got. So I have all of these already done. In the interest of time, we always get everything together and we pre-prep it. So there are about there's 3 different stages of the same block. So I had to do cuts for a bigger block, because what's going to happen is in this corner, you're going to have these little corners that you're going to have to do. And we had to do those. And then there are these little triangles down here and along the side that we had to do. So that's one size block. This is a different size. And then all these blocks in the center are all the same size. So that's what I'm working on now. There are 32 of these. So I need to complete 32 of these blocks that I'm getting ready to work on. So, of course, you know, I don't like to embarrass myself when I get on live. So, yeah. And I was home all day. So, we practiced the blocks. And this is what the block is going to come out looking like when we finish. it kind of mimics a log cabin block. So there's a square in the center, and we're going to build the strips around the square to create this block. And again, we only need 32 of them. So you can see I already started some, and that was just to get the little push together with that to make sure that everything worked. Thank you, everyone, for coming in. Thank you for joining the live. Thank you for following along. So again, everything is set and ready to go, pre-cut, ready for those center blocks. Again, and I will say it a couple times throughout the live, we are working on Love Nest. It is a twin quilt pattern, and this is by Sugarstone Quilts. This is a paid pattern, so that means that I cannot give out measurements and things like that for you. I can tell you the yardage that you need to purchase because that's general knowledge, because you need to know that in order to make the quilt. But the actual measurements for the size of the strips and the blocks, I can't share with you because we do pay for this pattern, and I paid for this pattern. So this is one, she has a really cute one. I can't remember the name of it, but it was red and white. Again, it was all on Cara fabric, and it was absolutely adorable. And I thought about making a red and white quilt, so I may actually do that as well. Okay, so we have this pattern, and we have our fabric. And we're going to talk a little bit about how to do this. My goal today is to get through as many blocks as I can before 11 o'clock. And then what I will do is come back on Sunday for Black Sewing Network for Sunday service at 3 o'clock, back again here on Tickety Talk, and we're going to put it together. So my ambitious self will complete the entire quilt. That's the goal, by 5 o'clock on Sunday. So I have some planning and some thinking that I need to do. There will be some updates that I will post on live, but what you're going to see is that I'm really not going to skip any steps between the two videos that I can't explain in between, so that if you choose to buy the pattern between now and Sunday, you can't play catch up. Now, Sunday, obviously, you will need the blocks done in order to do the next steps, but at least you'll know what to do because it's the same thing all the way through. Okay. So again, there are 32 blocks. And we've made some already, but like I said, I'm going to show you how easy this is. I'm going to do this 2 different ways just so that you see them both ways. And you'll make a decision from there why the second way is easier. But we'll show it to you the first way. Okay. So again, we start with our center block. And what we're going to do is build around the block. So each piece, when we pull it out, absolutely should line up with that center block and then with each of the add-ons. The two together, you know me, if it is not long enough, if it's short enough, I'm not using pins and I'm not using clips. I will set this under my machine. Right sides are together, a 1/4 inch seam. I allow my feed dogs to move the fabric through. My hand just holds this so that it doesn't, even with the guard of the 1/4 inch, I try not to push it over to, don't want it to go wonky over to the side or wonky this side. I need a 1/4 inch, and that's going to be key because this will go together perfectly. I'm going to press to the dark side. So that means that the seam is going to go underneath of the darker fabric. That way the seam doesn't show through on the white, underneath the white. And I can finger press that. One thing I like about the Ankara fabric that I get from Grace is that when I use it, it's already crisp. So it's not a lot of starching involved. And I can just kind of finger press it and it'll lay. Okay. So we have that. We'll take the next piece. Let me take some of these clips off before I drive myself crazy. And we're just going to build around the block. Now, the Ankara fabric isn't necessarily 100% cotton-ish. I think it has a little bit of poly in it, and it does fray a little bit differently, but that's okay. And we're going to take this and again go right under. Okay. I am leaving my foot down just because that makes life easier for me. And then I'm just going to finger press that open. Turn that. We didn't unclip this one. And then we will take this and we're going to go from here to here. And again, I can kind of hold that with my hands. Go underneath my foot again. I'm making sure that it slides underneath the foot. I'm not pulling on the fabric. I'm just holding it. Okay, and you'll see I'm cutting all these long tails because I'm cutting it off after every round. Finger press. If we look at it underneath, all the seams are going toward the dark. And then we'll use, oops, we didn't take that one and unclip it. Thank you. And then we'll take this, and then this is the last one. Typically, when you do a log cabin type quilt, you're just going around and around and around and around and around. Your strips get longer and longer and longer to make it go edge to edge. You don't want to pull, because if you pull on your fabric, that's a lot of times where you'll get waves. And so it's a lot easier just to kind of finger press it and just to let it go naturally. And so here's the block. Okay. Now I can press this and then this block is done. Let's set this block aside for a second. Now, you know me. If I can help it, I want to try to figure out a way to do things easier, not harder. I want to take the least amount of time to do something rather than the most amount of time. So chain piecing is a great way to do that. You can decide how many blocks you want to make at one time. So if I'm working on this project, and I know I have 32 blocks, I can take the rest of these, how many are left here, and I can do all of these together at one time. And then when they're done, they're done. 2 down. Then I add this. When it's done, 3 down. When I add this, 4 down. Done. And then when I finally add these, done. And then that way I'm not doing the same thing over and over again. And it's also allowing me not to have to snip using this thread cutter and or using scissors in between each one that are great lengths, because your thread needs to come almost out to the edge of the machine so it doesn't get caught back up in your machine and nest underneath your fabric. So again, it's your choice the way that you want to do it, but I like the chain piece. So to chain piece, we're going to take the fabric. Now, when I cut this, some pieces are laying down, some are laying up because of the way that we cut it. I am going to do 6 at a time. So I'm going to lay 6 of these up. Now I could do more than that, but just want to show you the chain piecing. So we'll do 6 at a time just to begin with. 1, 2. Okay. Because you know a sister can't count all the time. And then we're going to take 6 of these. So we'll just take 6 of these as we go. We know that this is going to go on this side of our fabric. So we're just going to just run all these through. We're going to line everything up. Foot's going to go down. I try, RV. Okay, be nice if Jennifer had thread in the needle. And like I said, the good thing is that especially when you're working with a lot of pieces, like this is only 5, but if you had 10, it's easier than to chain piece because you get rid of pieces faster and just like an assembly line, and it just makes your life a little bit easier to do it that way than it is to do them individually. Okay, let's try that again. Now, the thing about Ankara is that there is a right side and a wrong side, and sometimes you can't tell, and sometimes it doesn't matter. So we're going to run that one through. We'll grab the next one, same side, and we're just going to run this one through. But remember, like I did last time, I don't have to worry about stopping and cutting because I'm just chaining them all together. And it just makes the process go a little bit faster. If there's some prep that needs to happen, we press. I do believe that when you are quilting that you do press as you go, but sometimes the finger press is enough. One of the things that I do like about finger pressing is that you're not distorting your fabric with heat, steam, liquids, or anything like that. So it's all staying in its natural state. When you add something that wets the fabric, sometimes it will give that fabric permission to stretch. And if it stretches, it's not like it's going to stretch a whole inch wider, right? But it could stretch a 1/4 inch wider, or it could stretch an 1/8 of an inch wider, which could throw off your measurements. And you don't want that. Okay, so this one is done. We'll just set that one aside. Now we're in the green. I'm going to leave one on here. These are all chained together. I'm going to leave one on here because I'm just going to do a continuous chain. I can snip all these apart. If I took the time out to get my little snips, I would get them, but the scissors work fine. Hey, Gail, how are you? Hi, Jennifer, how's it going? And then we're going to take ours, and we're just going to, white side is down. And if we flip the purple over, that automatically puts the seam to the dark side. So I'm laying it down and flipping it to the dark side. We're starting with green. Green's going up top. Because we're just going to keep rotating it around. These two are together. I'm just making sure everything lines up, which is why I stop a little bit and reposition. Somebody would not have to reposition if she used clips, but I just feel like clips slow me down. We're going to take that. We'll flip this over. And then we'll do this one down. And we're just going to repeat the same thing over and over again. How is everyone doing today? I know it is here Tuesday evening. We had off for President's Day, and then today was Lunar New Year, Chinese New Year, so we had that off today. So yeah, we had a 4-day weekend. So we go back for 3 days, and then we have a stretch of 5 work days. And I think the next day that we have off, Ramadan starts, and we will get off for the Eid. So you know I am all for a celebration. So I will gladly take off so that folks can celebrate after they have completed their month of fasting and praying. I am all here for it. And I'm just going through. And we are just pressing this. Okay, and I have 2 more. So this one is the last one that I cut off. And remember, I have the other one that I never cut off from the beginning because I just keep going round and round and round in that chain piecing sequence. Chain piecing saves some thread. Now, if you're like me, you probably have enough thread that there ain't that much saving in the world that's going to help you to get through all the thread that you have. But again, you're not pulling out pieces when you finish that are going to be longer and create more waste for you to cut. So that's the great thing about chain piecing. So press again. We're finger pressing to the dark side. And then this is the last one that we need for the green. And we'll just set that on top. And again, I could do all of them, but I just wanted to show both ways. And again, you make the decision, but also understand this is every block that you're going to make. So all of the measurements, everything that had to be cut, this is the only block you're making for the whole quilt. Now you're going to have to, you will have to cut your blocks a little differently to achieve some of the angles that we need, but this is it. So kind of reminds you, like we did the African Queen quilt. So it reminds you of that, right? So similar measurements, there really is nothing new under the sun. So there's nothing new that we make. So when you see like certain things, you're like, you know what? I could have made the African Queen out of that. So this could have been a flesh color face and this would have been her head top. And we could have worked with it from there. So that's just that piece. But yeah, just a little tip there. Okay, so here we are. We're back at the top. We rotate again. And now we're starting with the brown and orange. And again, we have 5 of these, so we're just going to go all the way around again. And we're going to clip and stitch. I'm making sure that my seam is still going toward the dark side, because even if I press it, sometimes the seam will want to go in the direction that it wants to go into, rather than in the direction I told it to go into. So this way, I'm ensuring that it's going in the direction that I want. Press toward the dark side. Again, this is just a finger press because the Ankara is playing very nicely with the cotton. Sometimes 2 cottons don't play as well together, and I may have to press with the iron. When they play well together, Mama is a happy person. Okay. But you can see how we're going all the way around. Hey, Nikki. You can see how we're able to go all the way around here. And it just moves the process a lot faster. So when you're sitting there looking at those piles of fabric, when it's the same block over and over again, that's making up the pattern, this is just a quick way to get through them, because it is going to get monotonous over time because you're doing the same thing over and over and over again. So you can break it up, which is the reason why I could do 5, then I might do 6, then I might do 7, then I may do 10, then the last 2, whatever the deal is, just because it you know, it could get a little boring because you're doing the same thing over and over and over again. This one is done. Put that in the done pile. Okay. And, you know, if you're a quilter, you talk to yourself. So sometimes you're not talking to your audience on the live, you're actually talking to yourself. Just to remind yourself, like, so this is what you need to do. Again, if your 1/4 inch seams are right and your measurements are right, everything should line up. And I'll stop in a second. Again, for anybody who came in late and is like, what is she working on? So while I'm getting ready to pull that pattern up, this is called Love Nest. It is a quilt that is designed by Sugarstone Quilting. My name is Jennifer Hale, affectionately known as Dr. Jen, and for the month of February, we are focusing in on patterns by African American designers. And so this is a quilt pattern by an African American designer, and it is a really easy quilt. Last year, I worked on a quilt by Miss Geraldine Wilkins, Living Water Quilter, and it was a radiant star. Absolutely cute and adorable. I made 2 of them. One is absolutely finished. The other one still needs to be quilted. It's in that big abyss of a box for quilts that need to be complete. So one is done and one is not. So I have hers. I did do Kenya Studio. I did one by her, the Garden Lady, the Garden Window. It was a lady applique, and I made it a pillow. So I did do that live last year. I have a book this year, Rashida Coleman Hale, of course, because she has my last name. I have to do her. I'm going to have to do some things that she has. She does have quilts, bags, and other projects in her book. And I will share that with you as we go through some of the simple projects that she has. Because one thing's for certain and 2 things are for sure. Jennifer Hale has enough fabric. So I have enough fabric, enough scraps to make any project that needs to be made. Okay. So this is what happens when you talk. You forget what you're doing. Okay, so we are now in color number 4. So these are 1, 2, 3. And we're rotating around. And we're going to color number 4. And I like how the orange pops, so I can't wait to see that, the way that it's going to exist in those lines, because I was very intentional about how I pick things out. One thing that I do like about Ankara is that you can mix it and it works. Like sometimes you mix prints together and people are like, what? But for some reason, Ankara always works together. Okay, so this is the quilt here. So this is Love Nest. Again, it is a twin quilt pattern and it's by Sugarstone Quilts. This is a purchased pattern. You can instantly download it, print it out on your color printer, or you could leave it on your computer. That's totally up to you. It's an easy enough pattern that you can cut everything out from that page, and then you can look at the directions for everything else, and you really don't need to print out all those pages. But if you're like me and printing and color ink is free, you go ahead and print everything out. But if it costs you, then you may be a little bit more hesitant about how you print things out. So I'm just going around that last side, and we'll take we'll take these to the iron when we finish the 5. And then 5 down, and 22 in theory, more to go. And then those will be done. Again, we're just taking that edge, finger pressing it. We're making sure that our seam is going to the dark side. That way it's not showing through the white. Even when you press to the dark side, there are opportunities where you may have your fabric peek through on the lighter side. It just may be sometimes unavoidable, but hopefully if you can avoid it, you try to avoid it. There are other people who prefer to open up their seams. And I've said before in many different forums, I am not mad at you if you prefer to open your seams up. That's up to you. So if you open your seam up, and I'm not going to open this, I'm just going to faux open, like I'm going to show you open. This is opening the seams, so you're pressing open your seams. And that means that you are going to see a little bit of the white peek through on this side. So it'll be a little darker on this side right along the edge. It's not the end of the world, and it's not going to make that much of a difference. My whole thing is be consistent. So if you're going to open it up on the white side, don't have it open here and open here, but then it's closed here. And then on the next one, it's open here and closed over here. Be consistent. So press in the same directions with the same ones all the way throughout, just so that, it doesn't look wonky, and it won't. 9 times out of 10, whoever you give the quilt to, unless they're a quilter, they're not even going to notice that it peeks through. But one of the things that you really want to avoid, sometimes white fabric can be really thin. And that's why I like quilter's cotton, because I think a lot of times, now there are a couple exceptions to the rule, but a lot of times quilter's cotton is a little bit thicker. And so because it's a little thicker, everything doesn't show through it as easily as it does for a thinner white cotton. So when you go to, press it to the white side or the light side rather than the dark side, then what will happen is you won't see it as great. But if this dark purple, that purple will show through like a mug. If if I didn't press towards the purple. And so it may give you different shades, if you will, through the white. So one might look a little darker, one might look a little lighter, and again, keep it consistent and nobody's gonna pay attention. Okay. Nobody's gonna notice, I should say. Okay, let's slide all these out of the way for a second. And we're gonna come back here and we're going to press. Okay. As you can see, it doesn't bother me too much that it's all jumbled up. And all I'm doing now is pressing those seams flat. They're already on the side that they should be on. So I don't have to worry about looking underneath as much, but of course I'll check. Okay. And then you can see how that looks. One down. How many did I do? I did 5, so there should be 1 down, 6 to go. We're gonna clip those because somebody didn't clip them before she put them down here. You can press your seam, your thread flat, and then open it up. And you don't iron. Usually we don't use steam either, but some people do. If you're using steam, my suggestion is just don't iron. This is iron. We don't need to iron. We just want to press. So even if there's steam, it's not distorting your fabric and causing it to wave. Now I will say this. For some reason, this stuff has static culling. And I'm not sure why, but because no, before anybody asks, I don't wash my fabric. I will wash it in the end. I do not wash it in the beginning. Most quilters do not wash their fabric like garment people do. You love my ironing. Look. I try very hard to press. I won't tell you that I'm perfect, but I try very hard not to. Okay. And then just simple, and again, if I had done all of these, I'd be on the pressing part. And we know that I move twice as fast if I'm not on live than when I'm on live. But this is just making all those blocks. So instead of moving the iron over after every block, you're moving the iron over after you finish a set of blocks. So again, just like an assembly line, makes things a little bit easier than doing each individual block. Thank you for the daily heart, Miss Shamir. Okay. And the great thing is that I try as much as I can to pick easier quilts to do, especially if I'm doing some of them live. There are a few that I am going to do over series, but you know, I like to try to get them done as best as I can because everybody likes to see a finished result rather than, you know, just having a work in progress, because we won't discuss how many of those I have. I'm letting you into my world of some of those blocks that I have not finished, but we won't discuss how many are really not finished. And they're all not finished at like different stages. But I'm going to get some done, and then I'm going to be giving some away and gifting some because, yeah. Somebody has too many. Okay. Okay, good. Need to make Shamir my moderator because she just stays on top of everything for me. Ooh, Twitch in the morning. We're not going to discuss what I should be doing on Twitch. Okay. And then that's the last one there for that one. Okay. So again, this is not like that 100% cotton, so it frays a little differently. You could see it. See, that's that clean too. You see it standing up. So it frays a little differently. So just be mindful of that. But just, and it's going to be on point. So this is not going to be straight across. But here's the beautiful thing, right? This is your quilt. So while I'm going to show it to you this way and tell you that it's on point, the reality of this is that you can make this to be any way that you want this to be. So it doesn't have to be on point. But the great thing is that like this is going to line up all over for these blocks. Like that's it. And so you can see how they're like starting to come together like that. Like, look how those colors are popping. Because Ankara pops. And I love how this pops. Oh, okay. Thought I saw something I didn't see. So then what we're going to do, and like I said, we'll do this on Sunday, is we're going to actually stitch all of these together. But on point means that you're going to see the blocks look more like this. So it'll be like that, almost the same, right? But it'll be this way. And then what happens is there are going to be some blocks that are going to have to be cut off to form those corners. So that's why I said there are a couple different blocks that are going to come to play that you're not going to see like right now, because like I really already did them. But we're going to cut those and then they'll be in the corners along here. And that's where this will form that diagonal. I mean, that straight edge, because like I said, this will be on point. And then there'll be one for the corner to make that corner square. So we'll have all of those together. But right now, we're just working with those center blocks. And this is what we have. Okay. So we're going to do some more just to kind of go through the process again. And we, again, will talk about the pattern a little bit. And if you are thinking about prepping this and putting this together for the next video. Okay, so we set those aside. Okay. So just to recap and back up for everyone, this is the Love Nest. And this is by Sugarstone Quilts. So you can absolutely look up Sugarstone Quilts. You can find this pattern. What I like also, and I can take this one out right here. She also has other quilts as well. And the new one is not in here. The red and white one, that one's not here. So she has some other ones that you can look at. And again, this is sugarstonequilts.com. You can find her on all of the social media platforms that she has listed. She tells you a little bit about the quilt itself and a little bit about herself. And she's originally from Ghana. So, yes. Okay. I'll put these back in the same order so I know what I'm looking at. And again, this is a big quilt. Like, this is going to be a twin size quilt. And this is absolutely cute. Will you have it long armed? So, okay, I guess people are coming for me now. So I have a long arm. I have a sit down long arm. It's a Bernina, this is Q16. It's a Bernina Q16. So I'll be long arming it myself. We're not doing anything special and fabulous because I'm not there yet, but I'm there just enough to do what I need to get done to get it quilted. Oh, wow, you're an avid quilter. So, you know, yeah, we're going to make it work. So I haven't decided what I'm going to use on the back, but I do have some fabric that I was thinking about for getting that done. So I am thinking about doing that. But I love, like I said, I love this. This is an easy quilt pattern, and you can see down here, like those are those little triangles that I was talking about that have to fit in. And what they do is they actually have us create the block and then cut it so that it fits into those corners. Okay, so we have this. We went through all of our pieces. We cut strips the width of the fabric, and then we subcut them down to make the blocks. So our background, move that down because I want it in a certain order. And then we started off with each of the blocks as they will go in the order that they're supposed to go in. Again, cutting them in strips the width of the fabric. That's from Selfish to Selvage. And then we cut that down. This is a regular white on white. You can kind of see the dots. So it's white on white. This is regular fabric. So this is regular quilter's cotton that I had in my stash, and I had enough of it to do what I needed to do. Sometimes I don't have enough background fabric when there's a lot of background because I tend not to buy a lot of white or beiges or grays. I tend to not do that. So I usually end up having to buy it, but for some reason I had this. I don't know why, but we were using it. These three here are all Ankara prints. I know I at least got these two from African Zesty Couture. I want to say I bought this one from her too. I would have to go back and check, but I'm almost positive I got this one from Grace as well. So African Zesty Couture, again, she is here on social media if you want to find her for African print. I absolutely love her Ankara. This is great for what I'm doing for this project as well as any other project that I use with quilting. And then this is a batik. And so batiks like Ankara are almost the same. Sometimes you can see it's a little more faded on this side. So I can tell right side from wrong side. This is a lot brighter. This is a lot brighter. Okay. And then this one, you can't tell the difference. There is a brighter side, and then there is a little bit more wash side. So sometimes it's a little harder to tell. Batiks, in particular, real batiks, you can't see the front or the back. And that's because usually when they dip these, and when they dip them, the dye goes all the way through the white front to back. So that's why you get that look on both sides. Whereas typically they just print on a quilter's cotton. And so sometimes the back looks like whitish. Okay. So we did this two ways. I showed you how to just make one single block and then how to chain stitch. So of course, because interest of time, we will do another series of chain stitching. Thank you, thank you, thank you for putting Grace up there for African Zesty Couture. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. That's why I said Shamira is the best. Like, I just, and then right behind her or right next to her driving that car is Carmen. And thank you so much for reminding folks to make sure that they are sending the live out and they are doing their daily heart me. It's all about the engagement for TikTok to make sure that you are engaging with the host. My understanding is I don't even get the penny that it is for the daily heart me, but it is something that boost you up for your engagement. Okay, so again, what I'm doing, because the white is quilter's cotton, I am turning the side up that is the right side, because again, this is white on white. So on this side, you can really see those dots. On this side, you can't. But because it's white on white and it shows through, sometimes what happens is that I will turn it on the wrong side, sew it together, because I'm not paying attention. So sometimes I like to flip it up. That way I know that I have it on the right side. When I cut them, typically, depending on how you buy your fabric, when it's on the bolt, it's folded in half, and usually we cut our fabric still folded in half. So usually either the right sides are together or the two wrong sides are together. So when you go to separate them out, you have to flip one to get that right side up. And like I said, that just kind of helps the process, so that when you're doing this, it makes it a lot easier. Okay. So we have our right sides up, and we're just going to assembly line this again. I'm going to put my foot down. Let me make sure that I have enough of a tail out here. And then I am just going to sew these. And again, this is it. Like, this is the block. There's no other block that you are doing for this quilt. All the other pieces are just a bigger blocks. That's all they are. So this is the smallest block. The other two are a little bit bigger than this block, and you're not making as many because they are either going to be the corner triangles or the side triangles. As with any sewing project, you do not have to, you use your hand as a guide, you don't pull. You don't want to break your needles when you're sewing. You're letting your feed dogs do all of the work. Almost at the end. I think I got one more before I have to change that bobbin. The feed dogs are what are underneath of your sewing foot, and they're what's pulling your fabric to the back of your machine. I might make one more. You know, I like to live dangerously when it comes to my thread, because why waste it? Even though I have enough of it to last forever, but why waste it if I don't have to? So we're going to play the good old game of bobbin chicken and see how far we make it, and we're going to make it. We're going to make it, y'all. We're going to make it. Okay. Matter of fact, I might make it. You know, I gotta, okay, I think I got one left in me. One left on this bobbin. Okay, I thought I felt two. And for some reason, my hands are just oily today. Made it. Okay. Maybe that was the sign for me to stop that row. Let me adjust my puzzle piece. I know. We have a puzzle piece on some of the other apps. Okay. I keep all of my bobbins here. I have a ton of different machines, so it has to get labeled so I know which bobbin goes with which, because it would be too much like right for the same bobbin to fit in every machine. So somebody will have to wind additional bobbins for Sunday, but she should have enough bobbins for tonight. Hey Sabs, how are you? I am working on a quilt, and so we are working on making the quilt blocks for the quilt. We are chain stitching them. So here is the quilt. This is Love Nest. It is a twin quilt pattern by Sugarstone Quilts. And we only have like a series of blocks. They absolutely have, it looks like a lattice right here, like what you use for your fence. So that's what it looks like over here. And it's actually the same block over and over and over and over again. So we're creating the blocks for this. And then on Sunday, we're going to put the whole thing together. 3 o'clock for Black Sewing Network Sunday service. It's just like the garment girlies. Sometimes you can't finish something in a night. Even though usually I try. Which is why I have so many dresses. Oversized dresses. Because I will finish those in a night. But that's beside the point. Thank you. Okay. So again, 2 pieces sewn together. Lay this down. The light side is on the table. And I am just opening up the seam and finger pressing it so that I am pressing it to the dark side. Okay. Once it's pressed to the dark side, we're now going to use the green and we're just going to go up top. So they compare this to a log cabin style quilt. And in a log cabin style quilt, all you're doing is going around the square. Square isn't quite as big as it is in this pattern, but that's all you're doing is going around and around and around and around. Okay. Remember, press open. We're doing it with our fingers. Right sides together. Because this isn't big, I am using just my hands to hold it in place. If this were bigger, I would use clips. Okay. If this were a really long, like, so if I do a long something, I will absolutely use clips because my hands can't always hold it, or there may be several places that I need to hold it. So for example, if I have a bunch of seams that may need to meet up, there are no seams in this one that need to meet up, so I don't have to clip those together. And since I don't have to clip those together, then I don't necessarily need clips. But clips are a personal preference. So if you feel like you need to pin or clip, absolutely. But I'll say this, 32 blocks. I'm not doing that many clips. Because that's going to slow down the process and I can move fast enough without doing that. Okay. Press, hand press, and just follow along. So again, if you're thinking about doing this pattern and you say to yourself, you know what, I have fabric in my house that I can use. I think I can get the blocks done by Sunday. And even if you can't, because you can always go and follow me when I post this onto the Tuba U, and you can find the whole thing again if you need to follow it once you have all your pieces cut out. But again, this is repetition. I'm not doing anything new. I'm doing the same thing over and over and over again. And I think what I'll do maybe on Sunday, maybe I'll keep one block open or maybe two. And then I'll just quickly go back through how to construct the block on Sunday. And then put the blocks together. Because like I said, everything will be done. The only thing that I will need to do is to show you how to cut the triangles for it and then stitch the blocks together. Like that's it. And there's no specific way to lay it out. So it's going to be a really quick sew. Hey, Eve. How are you doing, darling? And unfortunately, I can't hide in the comments like I do every other time. And I didn't get Julian's pattern, so I won't be hiding in the comments tomorrow for the best, but I will be making it. I did make the Chandler today. I have Julian's shirt that I need to post. I did do that. I've been working hard this weekend. And I do want to cut this one off because this one's done. Okay. So again, we're taking this. We are finger pressing it, making sure that our seam is going to the dark side. I will always preface this and I will keep saying it. If you prefer to press your seams open, that is your choice. Sometimes it makes sense to press it to the dark side, and there's no other way around it. Sometimes it makes sense to press your seams open, and there's no other way around it. And most of the time, it is up to you. So we're just going all the way around these. And the great thing about this pattern and the great thing about this fabric, the Ankara fabric has a little bit of stiffness to it. It's not, it softens up after you wash it because of the wax, I think, that's in there. But like this, oh, it's just, it gives me the perfect stiff that I want. And like I said, I'll wash it at the end. I haven't had a lot of problems. I haven't had any problems with Ankara running or rubbing off. But I do have color catchers. So they are like dryer sheets almost. They look like that. But what they do is they allow you to put them in the washing machine with your fabric, and you can absolutely catch, you know, the color before it runs, because I don't want the red to run onto the white, because this is a really crisp white. And I don't want the red to run onto it. Yeah, I saw that you were I saw that you were working on that. I saw you when you cut it out, and I was like, ooh, I made that. I was like, great minds think alike. So I made 2 bags this weekend. I made Renee's bag, and then I made Nikki's bag. So, and I love it just came out so cute. like clearly orange is my thing this weekend, right? So that just came out really, really cute. And so yes, absolutely, Carmen, you could do this. Carmen. And the great thing about this one, and like I said, I tested out the blocks ahead of time. As long as you keep a 1/4 inch seam, these blocks sized up the way they were supposed to. I was impressed. I was like, to square these blocks up, square them down, square them, true them, square them, whatever we want to call it. I was like, yes. Don't come for me and my scissor skills, because I would use clips normally. I think I got them all. Okay. And then the last one is orange. And as you can see, I still have quite a few to go, but we're in our last round for tonight, because I will absolutely do the rest of them sometime this week, either watching somebody's live or or I might come on live and just do a couple more just to finish these up. But it's the same thing over and over again. So I think after an hour and a half, you get the point. So I will finish these orange. I will press these. And then, I have probably about, that was 5. This is about 7. Probably about like 19 done. So I don't have many more to go. Probably exaggerates, probably like 15, but we'll count them in a minute and see where they are. Okay, so again, finger pressing open, and we're going to add that last strip. And one of the things that I love is there's so many colors in the card anyway, that there's just if there was a white that I could have used, and I tried, I could show you I have so many black and white ones, but they just didn't do what I wanted them to do, or they had secondary prints on them that didn't allow me to not waste fabric to really do what I wanted to do, to use a white. So I was like, you know what, girl, you're just gonna use a regular white. And I'm pretty sure in the pattern itself they used a regular white as well. So I was like, okay. Now, I probably could have found something other than the batik, but again, I was okay with the batik too, because I wanted this to pop, and it just came to me in a vision. Plus, I wanted to make sure that I got this on the list to get done, because somebody came for me when I held off on doing this because I was looking for the right fabric. So I was like, you know what? Let me act like I know and stop procrastinating. Because first of all, I have 6 yards. Well, not anymore, because I cut into it. I have about 4 yards, 4.5 yards of this fabric that I haven't. No, actually I don't. We have like 3 yards now, because I'm making another strippy project that I'm trying to decide if I want to do on live, or if I'm going to do that one at the sewing event. I haven't decided yet. So I may do that there, because I think it's going to be easy enough. But I don't like taking nothing nowhere and embarrassing myself. So we'll see. But I had to count a bunch of strips for that. And we'll see how I feel about working on that. But again, you see how quickly that just goes. It just is one right after the other. A big assembly line. And Shamir, I need to act like I know. No, because these people are not kind to people that work during the school year. So they disappointed me because we can't mess up my perfect attendance. Because I won't tell you how many days in the 30 years that I've been working for the school district that I've taken off from work. So I was like, ugh. And plus they weren't good times. Like one is right at the beginning of a school year. And I'm like, yeah, picture that. I won't be here the first 2 weeks of school. Well, first week of school I'm taking off. And this one is like at crunch time, and there are a couple other things that I have to do as a 9th grade academy assistant principal. And so it makes it hard to take off for that too. Okay. So we're going to set these aside. It would be too much like right. Now, just because I didn't set them aside the way that I did, because I'll go back and clip them before I clean up. So we're just snipping these apart. And again, chaining, look how much thread you have. So if we had pulled them apart, we would use almost 3 times that amount. So chaining allows for us to have smaller pieces of thread in between, and I could even get it smaller if I tried. Okay, so all those are done. Somebody didn't touch her iron, so it's not hot. Press seam open. And again, the thing, and what we weren't going to do, this does fray a little bit more. But usually whenever I'm making garments, I don't have that problem because I serge everything. Okay, so that's one. Okay. And we're just pressing that. Oops, that's 2. I'm going to say this should be about 7. So again, this is a really easy pattern. There are no half square triangles. There are no flying geese. There are no teeny weeny little pieces that have to go together. There's not a lot of subcutting of units once everything is together. So this really is an easy one to go together. And as you can see, I am going out the wazoo with prints, but you can absolutely see, I could see this in some sort of solids, whether all of them are different shades of one color or whether they are all different colors that you could put together. So that's 4. So I think this is 6 here. And we'll see how many that we have done so far. And again, when I say done so far, I didn't mean tonight. So I'm not even going to tell you that story because I think I did 6 beforehand. And that was just to make sure that everything was functioning the way that it needed to. Before we got started. Okay. Okay. Okay, so here we go. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have 6 here. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 18. So there are 18 that are done here. Okay, which means that I should have 14 here. So I still have about 14 that I need to finish. I've done 18 so far. And again, that wasn't 18 all in tonight. That was just 18 for that I worked on for today and then for yesterday. Hey, Tony, how are you, Miss Tony? So that's 18 down, 14 more to go. And before I lose my pieces, the one thing that I will do is I will clip them, because somewhere in the movement of things, some of us will lose a piece and then we're looking all over for that piece. So I will clip these all back together. Okay. And like I said, what I will do is probably either while I'm watching somebody else's live, or I will pop back on live just to show like those again, how to put the blocks together. But the blocks so far, there are 18 blocks that are together. We need to do the other 14 to make a total of 32 blocks. Once the 32 blocks are together, all of the blocks will then be done. There's one bigger block, and then there are 7 medium-sized blocks that need to be done, but I already did those. So those blocks are done. I'm going to subcut those blocks the way that they need to be cut on Sunday. So I'm not going to cut those before Sunday. So you've seen the construction of the blocks. These blocks will be done the same way these blocks will be done. So you haven't seen anything different from that. You will see how I will cut those, because we're going to cut them on a diagonal. So you'll see that on Sunday. So we'll cut those on Sunday, and then we'll sew all the blocks together, and you will see a finished quilt on Sunday. So that's the goal. The goal is to finish the quilt 2 hours. So I will plan it out to figure out if that's going to happen or not. If it is not going to happen the way that I'm thinking, I may sew some rows together. And the reason why I could say that I'm going to sew some rows together, because real rap, it's the same thing over and over and over again. So you don't necessarily need to watch me sew together 14 rows and 32 blocks to see the same thing. So if you see half of it, you understand. So as I'm planning it out, if it doesn't look like I can get that done within a 2-hour period, then I will show you how part of it goes together, and I will have sewn the other part already. But again, I promise I will show you how these get cut. Actually, it's not these. These don't get cut. These are the ones that get cut, but like I said, they're already made. This is the biggest one. These are the medium ones. You see, they're not much bigger than this, but I'll show you how this is going to get done. Again, it's 3 o'clock, Sunday Service Black Sewing Network here on TikTok. So I will show you how all that goes together, but this is repetition. So if you're making the quilt, here it is again. This is Love Nest. It is a twin quilt pattern by Sugarstone Quilts. This is Black History Month is 365 days a year, but for Black History Month, Black Sewing Network, we are focusing in on Black pattern designers. So Sugarstone Quilts is part of that list of quilts, and this is done in Ankara fabric, so I chose to keep along with her theme for that. So the Love Nest has that. It's a simple block. Here is the simple block. So please join us here on Sunday to see the finishing of the quilt. But you know, I will post it to YouTube as I always do. As you know, I will post videos, so make sure you're hanging out. But thank you, everybody, for joining me this evening to work on this quilt. So again, we have these blocks that we're going to finish. I will get those done before Sunday. Everything else is done, but thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for tapping the screen to get our likes in. We are at 12.3K. Thank you so much for tapping the screen. Thank you for your heart me's. Thank you for engaging with me. Thank you for just always showing up. I really appreciate everyone. Hopefully I will see you on Sunday. See you, Sabs. Good night, everyone. Have a great evening. I'm getting ready to pack it up because I have been laying around and doing nothing. I haven't left the house since Friday. So I have to go to work tomorrow. So thank you again, and have a great evening.